Now we'll invite Julia to the floor, and after Julia, Nadia. So Julia and Nadia, again with me, we support the Youth Working Group as co-facilitators, and Julia is going to elaborate a little bit more on the working groups in the CSM, and then Nadia will speak a little bit more concretely on the different opportunities that youth have to input into the CFS policy processes through the working groups. So over to you, Julia. And I think Luca will now share his screen again with our PowerPoint for the speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anissa, and also thank you so much, Teresa. I think that prepared Nadia and my part really, really well. So I'm now just waiting for I think we have like a nice graph that is going to illustrate what I say. Yes, so I'm trying to be brief in introducing the role of the policy working groups by making a connection between the local struggles and the policy process at the global level of the CSM and the CFS. And so I thought to understand how we get to a CSM policy working group, it's best to start what we call here the home, at home. So to start with the struggles on the ground, the local movement that youth are active in. So as you can see on the left side of this graph, these are grassroots struggles, grassroots organizing for food sovereignty, agroecology, food system transformation, and for the realization of our human rights. And then these local struggles are translated to the global level of the CSM and the CFS. And so, of course, the question is how does this work? And this is what this graph tries to illustrate a bit. So the different local experiences and struggles, they are represented and gathered in different subnational or national or regional and or global organizations. And then these organizations can decide if they want to participate in the CSM. And as Teresa said, if they want to, every organization that belongs to civil society and works on food security and nutrition can join and participate. And so, of course, usually that means that there are some people from the organization, from that movement, who join the work of the CSM. As parts of these organizations that they are part of. And then at the level of the CSM, there are representatives for different sub-regions. So for example, for the sub-region of the Andes or the sub-region of East Europe. And there are also representatives for different global sectors, or how they are called in the CSM, constituencies. So for example, the constituency of smallholders or the constituency of fisherfolks. And these representatives of subregions and constituencies are so-called members of the coordination committee. So we call them coordination committee, or abbreviated as CC members. And also, as Teresa already pointed out in her presentation, we have this importance of the principle of facilitation. So also the idea of the coordination committee is that these people facilitate the participation of the different organizations. So the coordination committee member that represents a certain sub-region will facilitate the organization of that sub-region and basically help them participate in the space of the CSM. And so then we can see on the right side where we have Rome, that at the level of the CSM, the different organizations that bring with them a variety of diverse struggles and local experiences, that these organizations then, meet, build connections, build solidarity and understanding, develop their ideas and, develop alongside each other, right? But what they also do is they participate in the policy process of the CSS. Nadia is going to talk about that a bit more just after I finish speaking. And beyond participating in the policy process, or also as part of the policy process, the organizations will also, for example, participate in bilateral meetings with government delegates. And again, as I said, in all these activities that the organizations might be part of, they are supported by the coordination committee, but they are also supported by, for example, the CSM secretariat, of which Teresa, who you just heard speaking, is a part. And they're also supported by the interpreters who are currently doing the interpretation of this webinar. But they're also supported by the coordinators and facilitators of the policy working groups. So now we finally get to the policy working group, which we understand, or we see as one of the core ways in which the local experiences that we have on the left side are actually brought into the global CFS process. So again, the working groups are open. So they're open to all participating organizations of the CSM. And ideally, we try to have members of all the different global constituencies and members of all the different subregions to be part of a working group. And then each working group is led by one or two coordinators. Here in the call, you already met Marga and Zira, who are the coordinators of the youth working group. And the coordinators of a working group will always be members of what we already got to know, the coordination committee. But a working group will also have facilitators. Also in this call, there are 3 facilitators, Anissa, Nadia, and me. And more generally, usually when we look at the working groups of the CSM, you can have a look at them later when you have a look at the website. You will see that they're usually oriented towards a CFS policy process. So again, Nadia will later speak about the policy process. An example would be the food systems and nutrition policy process. But we as a youth working group, together with the women working group, are kind of special because we're the only 2 CSM constituencies that also have their own working groups. So this is just, like a side note. But the idea is, being a constituency at the same time, that our theme of our working group, youth, is cross-cutting across all CSM activities. Okay, so in a minute, Nadia will focus a bit more on this part of Rome that you see on the right side here. So explain more concretely how the working group contributes to the CFS policy process. But just before I stop, let's just have a look. So how we get from Rome now back to home. So there's a variety of different ways in which actually we get from Rome back to home. So for example, we can think of the ways that the CSM coordinating committee members, but all participating organizations, in fact, how they bring back knowledge and advocacy tools to support grassroots struggles at home. Furthermore, CFS policy outputs, so for example, the voluntary guidelines and tenure of land, can be used by organizations to advocate for change at home. And of course, I mean, the bigger idea is that governments make use of the policy instruments that are actually developed at the CFS. And thus, of course, then back having an impact on the local situations and the local experiences, well, at home. Okay, so I hope that gave you some explanations for this beautiful illustration here. And now I hand over to Nadia.